Thank you, my dear colleague. I would like to welcome you all and wish you a good afternoon. And let us start first with few rebuttals. I'd like to start with the deputy leader of the opposition. He says that education for minorities and for foreigners is almost impossible to practice in real life. I will give you the example. Your one of your teammates here, St. Louis. You have the ability to educate yourself. You can pass the driving course in Bosnian language and in many other languages. The United States are the good example of how the minorities' rights can be protected and how these laws can be implemented. But let's move on. Let's talk about France. France does not recognize the existence of minorities at all. That is the only part of Geneva Convention on Human Rights they did not ratify in their constitution. And look at what's going on in France, as my colleague pointed out. Please sit down. So, you have the examples, you have the good stories, good opportunities for people to travel around the world today. You have the European Union and you have the ability to move freely, and you have the ability to go and try to find work and try to find a better future for yourself and for your family. And when you come to certain countries, when you come to France as an Eastern European, for example, as a Muslim, as an African, as an Arab, you don't have your political rights. You have the right to work in that country. You have the obligation to pay the taxes to that country, but you don't have the political representation. And what you are constantly saying is give them citizenship and everything will be solved. Citizenship does not guarantee that their minority rights will be protected. Even if you come as a temporary worker to the country, you still are becoming the part of the minority, your ethnic minority, your national minority. You are becoming the part of the minority that already exists in that country. You yourself, if you come to work for 2 or 6 months, should not get the seat in the parliament because they're temporary. But the people who live there on a permanent basis should have the ability to represent their minority and their rights. Moreover, let's give examples. So you say that reserved seats mean you are superior. No, it does not. You have examples of Eritrea, Angola, Tanzania, Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, where women get the reserved seats. In Afghanistan, women get 64 reserved seats because in the society they live, their rights are not protected well enough. They have to fight for their own rights. And I would like to go back to what my colleague Hannah said. Foreigners are not only refugees. And even though, if they are refugees, you have the case of Jordan in Middle East. War in Syria, war in Iraq, and war in Palestine and the Gaza conflict have brought them so many individuals, so many families that they don't have shelter, they don't have food, they don't have education, they don't have health care. If they don't have representatives, how can they fight for that? How can they get their basic human rights? How can they fulfill that? And we are living in a free world, we are living in a world of equality. We are not equal, and we need to say that, and we need to understand that. We don't live in an equal world as much as we want to. This will help us to be more equal. This will lead us to prosperity. This will open the doors to true multiculturalism, and that's what the world needs. That's what we want to accomplish with this. You also say that reserved seats is too vague, conflict-specific seats in the parliament. That's not vague. If you have a seat in the parliament, you don't just eat and drink water there. You participate in bringing decisions that affect all the citizens of that country, as well as the members of your minority. And that is why this good policy, and that is why we need this policy. You thought that it's too general. What is the large number of foreigners? Of course it is. That is why every parliament would make a quota for their country, because not every country has the same problem or same number of minorities. That's why we couldn't say specific 5–10%, and that's why we need this policy to pass to be a good example for others, and that's why I proudly stand behind this policy, and I proudly present that we need specific number of seats in parliaments, for foreigners, for minorities, for refugees, in order to protect their minority rights. Thank you.